This is Get Real with Bob and Stacy, the show that helps you learn about the mortgage and real estate markets. Get the inside scoop from their expert list of guests and have some fun along the way. Now, here's Bob Gallagher and Stacy Alcorn.
Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacy. You're joining us for our Leaders and Legends segment. Our first guest today is Frank Cottle, Chairman of Alliance Business Centers Group and Alliance Virtual Offices. Welcome to the show, Frank.
Thank you. Very great to be here.
So for some background information on Frank, he is the CEO of Alliance Virtual Offices and chairman of the Alliance Business Centers Group. He is a recognized expert on flexible working, the virtual office movement, and third place working. Prior to creating the Alliance brand, Frank successfully operated his own portfolio of business centers in multiple locations across North America. He has spent almost the past 30 years delivering business services that are finely tuned to the workplace needs of startups, entrepreneurs, and growing SMBs. Over the years, he has worked with tens of thousands of business owners and, coupled with a unique global management perspective, has become the go-to authority on flexible and remote work. So first off, for anybody that might not be familiar with virtual offices or virtual business centers, explain what it is.
Virtual officing is the ability for anybody, whether it be government, large corporations, professionals, legal accounting professionals, local companies, SMBs, excuse me, or startups, to have a physical address from which to manage their company. Everything from registered agency through the access to the address for commercial business purposes, and a pre-contracted number of hours where that address is used. So many people work on the road these days or out of their home part-time in all sorts of environments. But generally they need a place to meet, a place from which to conduct business. And maybe you didn't know, but without a commercial address, and a telephone line, a land telephone line that matches that address, no corporation or no company can actually get corporate credit. Huh. So a startup that might be looking to establish themselves and get even a corporate credit card from their local bank, if they're using a home address as their address and a cell phone, they'll never get corporate credit. So there's a lot of nuance to the way you use offices these days and a huge amount of cost savings.
Wow. So how fast are you growing? Because it seems like this is just a massive market. And I see even in the real estate industry, which I'm in, so many people moving to these virtual sites. Like how many new buildings are you adding every year?
Our industry at large, which is the better benchmark, has about 22,000 facilities globally. And we're growing at a pace of about 10 to 12% a year, which by comparison to conventional commercial real estate, which is growing at about 2 to 2.5% a year during a good year, is quite rapid. We're growing as fast or faster than the PC industry did in the height of the dot-com era.
Wow. So are you seeing that more of your business is like startup entrepreneurs, or is it corporations, or is it government? Who's moving into your spaces?
It's an interesting mix. People think of classic business centers or co-working centers and virtual officing as a place for startups, which it certainly is. But if we look at our industry as a vertical and we break it into 20% market share components, at the top would be government. Government is a huge user of our industry. Next under that would be the global Fortune 1000, or really all listed companies, you could say, another 20%. In the core of our industry's history and still today are legal, accounting, financial services professionals, the professions, usually smaller organizations or even large organizations like Accenture that use projects of ours and our industries for large consulting teams. Maybe they have to do a project for 6 months with a client in another part of the world. They use us. Underneath that would be local companies, small to medium-sized business organizations, and they would be A lot of media companies, mid-sized, smaller tech companies, branch offices of sales and distribution companies, and the bottom 20% is startups. So it's a very full market mix that uses our industry at large and virtual officing very specifically.
So what do you think the biggest reason is some of these sectors are moving to virtual offices? Is it because they're not tied to a long-term lease? Is it because they want to be able to up and move to new areas? Why are people moving in?
Three specific reasons, I would say. First and foremost, flexibility. In today's world, if you can tell me what's going to happen in the next 3 years, I want you to handle my stock portfolio. No one knows what's going to go on.
Right.
And especially if you look at your company, if you're a larger company and you're looking at a global marketplace, there's a lot of political uncertainty in certain markets. There's outright fear in some markets. Things like Brexit are very challenging to companies as they try and establish themselves across Europe and the UK. So flexibility is key there. Wouldn't you rather have a 1-year lease that you knew could automatically renew than a 10 or 15-year lease that you had to renew? That has a lot of impact on balance sheets as well. The second reason would be just downright savings. It's cheaper. There's a tremendous savings when you're sharing assets, and I'll use a good example. If you're a mid-sized company, let's say a 5-employee or 5 to 10 employee company, you probably have an office somewhere. That office probably has a nice reception room area, a receptionist or an admin sitting in that front area, a conference room. The average conference room is only used 8 hours a week. How many reception areas have you walked into, and you're the only person there for a while?
Right.
How busy is that reception, Mr. Admin, sitting there? So when all those things are shared in a common facility, the savings add up tremendously. And our industry combines people, place, and technology into a single bundled product that we deliver with a highly flexible service agreement. And that equates not just to flexibility, but to a substantial amount of savings. The last thing really would be contracting. If we were to look at the annual report of any Fortune 100 company 5 years ago, we would have probably seen a statement that said something to the effect that we have 350,000 employees worldwide. Today you would see that same statement, but instead it would say something like, we have a workforce of 350,000. And that subtle difference in their statement would equate to about 20 to 30% of those previous employees are now contractors. They live where they live, they work where they work, and they're contracted to the company. And that huge flow from contracting, which has been not forced, but has been developed through technology and the mobility factor in officing, is a huge driver for our industry right now. IDC estimates that by the end of this year, there will be 1.6 billion mobile workers worldwide.
Wow.
That's almost a third of the current generational workforce. So those are massive drivers, and they're brought on by economic change. Such interesting things right now. Immigration is a big topic worldwide, certainly in this country and in Europe. Well, I just had a resume presented to me from a young gentleman from Asia this morning. It looked very, very good. His credentials were excellent. He doesn't have to move to the U.S. to get his job. We can hire him exactly where he's sitting in Bangalore, which is in India. We can hire him there. We can put him in a virtual office there. And he can be absolutely connected into our own network, just as if he was in Newport Beach in California.
That's cool.
So these drivers of technology, social change, immigration issues, technology are huge, impacting the way we work today and the way we will all work in the future, which is virtually.
What's interesting is I have 22 real estate offices, and one of them is a virtual office space, like one of these shared spaces. And what you don't think about, so we moved into it for temporary. So eventually we want to have a Concord, Mass office, probably maybe a retail location, although the virtual office seems to be working great. So we moved in, but what I didn't realize when we moved into the space is that there would be a return on it, because my agents who work out of that Concord, Massachusetts office actually network with other business people in all different sectors, and they sell them houses. So there's all kinds of upside to being surrounded every single day by other business people in all different segments.
Well, the big element to that in our industry was referred to as community. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. It used to be in the real estate industry, the old adage, location, location, location. Mm. We actually have been saying for the last 30 years, it's actually timing, but that's a different story. But today, when someone looks for a place to office, whether they're a large company or a startup entrepreneur, the first thing they look at is not where the location is, but who else is there. Mm. What's the community that I'm going to be joining when I take an office at that location, which is exactly the issue you were talking about. There's a tremendous amount of networking, collegial enthusiasm and support in an environment like that, oftentimes solid mentoring, and many times in accelerators, even access to capital for growth.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So community becomes the core of the search criteria for about 50% of the companies out there today, and that aspect of real estate or officing as an activity is growing.
Wow. That's awesome.
It is.
You don't even really think about some of that stuff because you're just so focused on finding a place for your people to work that you don't really think about all of the benefit of that community. What we find in searches, because we run quite a large technology infrastructure, is that when someone comes to a search website, and our websites are set up very much like Expedia, where you can open an office just in a number of clicks of a mouse in 5 minutes anywhere in the world. But when you come to that, one of the things that we see is people come to that website, they look at a location, they don't go to the plan or they don't go to this or that. The first place they go is the Facebook page for that location. They want to see what's happening there. They don't want us to tell them. They want the community to be speaking to them. So it's very interesting to watch the mapping in web traffic and how that interfaces with social media today as it relates to real estate. That's awesome. So you just said that somebody can come onto your website and basically start an office right now. How do they do that?
It's very simple. You've all booked an airline ticket or a hotel room through Expedia or directly through another travel site, right?
Yep.
You go on, you say, hey, I need a hotel in New York City. I need it on these dates and for this time. And I like 4-star hotels. That's my budget market. So our sites do exactly the same thing. We have what we call a rule of 10. You can open an office in 10 countries, in 10 cities, in 10 minutes.
Wow.
So it's very easy. So people go on, identify a location and a facility that suits their requirements, look at the plans offered, just like you look at the room rates offered in a hotel, the plans offered by that facility. Click on it. They then set up their mail forwarding structure, which is a few clicks, just 2 clicks. And then they set up their telephony structure, which is just 3 clicks. So it's very simple. After about 7 or 8 clicks, you can have completely established an office anywhere in the world. And then everything is paid via credit card or ACH. So automatic payments, automatic rollover, automatic renewal, 10 offices, 10 cities, 10 minutes.
So awesome. What is the website?
AllianceVirtualOffices.com.
AllianceVirtualOffices.com. Do you have something like, say that I want to have a permanent or semi-permanent office, but also I travel a lot? Do you have options where somebody can pop into one and to rent out a conference room for 2 days or 2 hours even in another country?
Yes. We have two programs. We have one program internally called Alliance Access, which allows our permanent clients to rove around between centers as our guest for up to 8 hours a month.
Wow.
And we also then have meeting and conference room reservation and booking system that works exactly the same way, again, as a hotel would. I need a conference room in London. I need it for 2 days. I need one to seat 8 people. I want it in the city of London, the financial district of London. I want a boardroom-style meeting. I want this AV. We're going to serve lunch. I want lunch served. 3 vegetarian meals and 2 vegan meals, differentiating them. And all of that set up automatically on the web and then serviced upon the client's arrival.
Wow.
That's impressive. So you cover everything.
You cover everything.
Yep. We'll even want to know. We have a concierge level service, and our team will reach back when the reservation is made, verify menus, verify the differences between such things as vegetarian and vegan and Hindu versus Asian, verify the AV equipment required and the type of computer the person's using, so the right cabling or connections will be prepared. It's a very high-level personalized service, kind of like you used to get in the old days when you had a really great personal travel agent.
Right.
We have had a lot of experience with the travel industry from another company that we owned, and so we really pride ourselves in that high-quality concierge-level service, not just an automated service.
Excellent.
That's awesome. Well, our time is about up. And who knew in 15 minutes I was going to become a global real estate company with 10 offices in 10 new countries. That's amazing. So this is Frank Cottle. And for anybody listening interested in checking out these amazing virtual office programs, you can go to AllianceVirtualOffices.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
My pleasure.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.